Hello and welcome to Business Insight, where we inspire you, empower you, and also give you the right information to help you thrive in whatever business you are currently in. I'm your host, Adesua Iromosele, and today we'll be discussing on the topic global impact of fossil fuel on climate change. Yes, and this is hinged on what went on at the COP28 summit during the weekend. And of course, we have a guest who would be talking to us and discussing this topic with us, okay? And it goes by the name Babajide Oluwase, and he is a professional in urban management, sustainability and entrepreneurship. He's also the co-founder and CEO of EcoTutu, a leading clean tech company which provides multi-channels solar solutions. Now, when we talk about climate change, you know, someone might wonder, what exactly are we talking about? Okay, and now climate change basically refers to the long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns. Such shift
My name is Olatunji Shoti Miri. I'm a performing artist and, television radio presenter and a university lecturer, Unilag. Keep watching Soak News.
Hello everyone, my name is Kenny Black, Africa's finest music comedian, and you're watching Sook News. If you're not watching Sook News, I pity you, but keep watching Sook News.
Hello everyone, my name is Timida Kolo and you're watching Sook News. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Wisdom Oluwaseun Okoko, co-founder Orbit Africa Properties. I'm live at Sook News. Guys, keep watching Sook News for everything.
Hello and welcome to Business Insight. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, and of course every day is a good day to talk business. And today will be, of course, as usual, inspiring you and empowering you with the right information you need to thrive in your business. I'm your host, Adesua Iromosele, and this show is not going to be run by me alone. We have virtually a guest who is going to be discussing this topic with us, and the topic we'll be treating today is the global impact of fossil fuel on climate change. How does fossil fuel basically impact the climate? That's what we'll be talking about today. And when we talk about climate change, we're referring to the long-term shift in temperatures and weather patterns. And such shifts can be natural due to changes in the sun's activities or a large volcanic eruption. Now, when we burn fossil fuel, fossil fuels such as crude oil, it generates greenhouse gas emissions such as CO2 and methane, and these gases act as blankets, okay, that is wrapped around the earth, trapping the sun's heat and raising temperatures. So this is what we'll be discussing today, and like always, we have virtually a guest by the name Babajide Oluwase, and he is a professional in urban management, sustainability, as well as entrepreneurship. He is also the co-founder and CEO of EcoTutu, a leading clean tech company which provides multi-channel social solutions, solar solutions, I beg your pardon. Good morning and welcome to the show, Jide.
Good morning, Adesua.
So now,
Thanks for having me.
okay, welcome. So we all know that human activities is one of the main drivers of climate change. Now, of course, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuel and other materials. Now, in your opinion, what are the immediate long-term consequences, of continued fossil fuel emission on our planet?
Well, I mean, the facts are out there that the more we get to extract and use fossil fuel resources, the more it gets to have mostly negative effect on the environment, right? From how this resource itself is being extracted to how the resource, when utilized, the implication. And this can be seen across board from transportation to cooking energy to how we drive our industries and everything that we get to that, even from providing electrification for our day-to-day needs. The implication of this over time, and from what scientists have also proven to us, is that it's not something that is viable for humans, and it's not viable for the environment, not today and not even in the near future. Some of the things that we can probably also feel around us is the increasing heat waves that we have, right? Every successive year to date have been breaking the record of the hottest year so far, right? And I mean, if you go out there today, you could feel the impact of this directly on your skin, directly on your health, and other issues that, that are also integrated that we can look that we can feel and have experienced around us in the world today. So this is how fossil fuel industry, fossil fuel activities has felt this over a very long period of time.
28 summits, there were talks about, calling off or phasing out of the use of fossil fuel, for a better environment and all that. Now, do you think this is the solution we need, And what would be the implication, the economic implication of transitioning away from fossil fuel to clean energy? How would it impact our economy?
So for the whole conversation going on at COP, yes, we need to phase out fossil fuel and look at cleaner sources of energy. But the reality is that, that cannot happen today or even tomorrow. Fossil fuel as a form of energy has been so integrated into everything that we do, for decades. And so we won't expect that in a matter of months or years that this reliance is going to change. But what I see is that, yes, there are cleaner sources of energy that have been identified, from solar to wind to even a bit of natural gas as well. And what I think we can start looking around is the gradual transition into this renewable source of energy. Yes, it might be easier for some countries than the other. Nigeria, for example, where the bulk of our even our resource, our inflow as a country of over 60% comes from fossil fuel. Imagine that we had to pull the plug for fossil fuel today. How will Nigeria as a country survive, right? It varies across different countries in terms of the level of transition, how quickly they should transit, and what the pace should be like, right? What I think we need more is in terms of, yes, say the long-term planning. Nigeria, for example, has set a 2060 plan to get net zero. And part of how we're sort of setting the ball rolling is to hinge the growth of Nigerian economy, the goal of Nigeria energy need on gas, right? And we want to see a lot more investments, we want to see a lot more interest, we want to see a lot more implementation of plans and ideas in this regard. If we don't have all of those implementations in place, if we don't have all of those infrastructure to support these processes in place, then the plan is just as good as a plan, right? As it won't practically respond to the need of the people on ground.
The issues. Now, how do you advise countries, I mean, as a clean energy expert that you are, how do we balance, our economic sustainability, and environmental balance, basically? How do we ensure that we have both and not lose out on one in order to achieve the other?
So how do we do this? First is we need to plan, right? For most of the developed countries that typically would say, oh, fossil fuel is harmful to the environment, fossil fuel is not the form of energy that should be driving an economy today. It's somewhat easier for them to do a lot of transitions because they have many of these prerequisite infrastructure in place, right? To aid the transition from fossil fuel form of energy to like a more renewable sources of energy. For a country like Nigeria, we do not have that luxury. But we also need to look at the implication of these different economic activities that we have today that is largely built around the fossil fuel industry, right? To say we can't keep doing what we're doing and I expect different results as we get along. The world is changing, the climate is changing, and changing at a very astronomical rate. So we need to look at what are we doing that is largely impacting what we get from our environment, what we get from the planet and the system around us, right? And that's where I think planning is very essential, right? We don't have bulk of the infrastructure that we need to transit, and this is why we need to plan. And then localize our planning, right? To fit into the context of Nigeria. Where are we? What's our energy sources? What are our energy sources? How are we deploying the energy? How are we distributing it? And how do we now sort of adapt this new plan for cleaner energy pathway into the reality and into the context of Nigeria? I'll take a cue from a quote from one European Commission report that says, if we think the cost of moving away from the current energy dependency that we have today is costly, then we also need to bear in mind the cost of inaction. Yes, it could be costly for the immediate term, and that's where we need to plan and face our plan, right? And then also be the same type of effort we put into planning for this, we also need to put that same, if not more, amount of energy and resources into implementing that plan. I mean, we're very good at having a lot of plans, not just Nigeria now. I mean, across Africa and across the world, we have a lot of beautiful plans, beautiful policies, but we need to put this required amount of effort into also actioning those plans, right? And I think that's where we all need to come together to drive this. Again, remember, if we think the cost of moving away from the current energy dependence that we have globally is too costly, then we also need to look at the cost of inaction. Cost of inaction on the environment, cost of inaction on our health, and cost of inaction on our social well-being as a people.
Indeed. Talking about the people. Now, one of the issues discussed at the COP28 summit was the fact that international bodies plan to, help vulnerable communities, just more like safeguard them from the impact of the climate change. Now, what do you think can be done practically, to help people in vulnerable communities, and just to ensure that they have safe environments to live in? What are the measures to be put in place? Because it was just said orally, it is just speech, but what are the practical strategies, practical steps to be taken to ensure that this is done?
Yeah, so before talking about the practical steps, I want to talk a little bit about how we got here in the first place, right? So when you look at the numbers, across Africa, our contribution to this whole global warming thing is roughly 3%, right? And so when the developed economies are coming together to say we want to help Africa, it's not because it's more like an obligation to help, because they have leveraged these dirty energy sources to build their economy, to build infrastructure, to build their system. And so it makes transition a lot more easier for them. At the point we are in now, I mean, this was like decades back for many of these developed countries. And now we want to maybe come into the realization of really wanting to develop our system and our economy. And then we've globally identified and aligned that, yes, this source of energy might not be the best way to go because it's not good for the planet. The data is there, the scientists have spoken, the experts have also advised us. Fine. we also aligned that we need to sort of look at a different pathway as we move forward to the journey of our development. But at this time, this is not the first time that these countries are promising or are pledging to support African countries, for example, in terms of helping the transitioning process. So I think what is basically required now is in matching words with actions, right? From what I've seen at COP28 so far, there's been commitment of up to $600 million to support loss and damages, and then to be domiciled temporarily with the World Bank, right? This is to disburse to these different countries. But in the true sense, right? I mean, the previous year, last year in Egypt, the COP26, Glasgow, there were also commitments. But when you look at the performance of how much they actually contribute eventually into their commitment, I mean, it's very ridiculously low. I mean, they usually don't even get up to 15% performance of what they've committed, right? Well, for every passing year, we expect that we get a different result in terms of, for the world leaders, fairly for the developed economies in the global north, support actually putting the resources and matching their words with action. And then for the local, for African leaders, right? We need to sort of contextualize our plan. So it's not a case of this is what Germany, this is what China, this is what the US want us to implement. We need to see, does this truly fit within the context of Nigeria? Does this fit within the context of Ghana? Does this fit within the context of South Africa, right? And then we need to be able to plug in those different nuances that speaks to our peculiarity as an entity, and then collectively gather ourselves around it to be able to get these issues resolved. In the long run, yep. Hello, can you hear me?
That the phase out of fossil fuel is what's going to achieve the 1.5 degrees Celsius. That's referring to the line scientists have stated is the limit of safe levels for planetary heating, 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now he said this is not to guarantee this degree of temperature on our planet. Do you agree with that statement, or do you have varying thoughts?
So I think I missed the earlier part of your question. Maybe you can just come again.
Okay. I said during the COP28 summit, the president of the summit stated the fact that there is no science or scenario out there that suggests that the phase out of fossil fuel will bring down the planet's temperature to the 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is the required temperature. And okay. So I'm just asking you, do you think that is correct, that remark is valid, or do you have a different opinion on it?
Well, to a very large extent, I probably would not want to really debate the view of, the experts in this case, who have put in so much effort and time into drawing on this conclusion. But at the same time, it goes beyond, maybe where I might align to an extent is that it goes beyond just sort of transitioning away from like a fossil fuel source of energy, right? Which we regard as non-renewable energy source, right? There's also the part, so as we sort of transit into the cleaner and more renewable energy sources, right? Something is still very inherent in terms of how humans get to utilize energy, right? Because the more options we have for us to be able to generate and use energy, the more likelihood for us wanting to do more, like wanting to do more in terms of usage. Oh, I have electricity to do ABC. The more possibility for me to have a lot more things to want to do with the available energy. And I think maybe what can help us be able to drive the desired goal to getting it to 1.5 is that we need to also start looking at what I call energy efficiency, right? That energy is renewable does not mean it is 100% safe for the environment. I mean, look at solar panels, for example, that we're using harnessing energy from the sun, or the one that we're using harnessing energy from the wind, right? these are still materials and components that are produced and also contribute to the carbon footprint as far as the planet is concerned. So it's not like entirely renewable, because the material and the equipment that we use in energy sources are also produced, and then you require energy for you to be able to produce these things. So, right, for us to be able to sort of make more progress beyond generating energy from renewable sources, I think the world needs to also start paying much more attention to energy efficiency. Maybe that could help eventually.
Okay, indeed. So what would you say are the potential social or geopolitical consequences of this switch from fossil fuel to clean energy? And what impact would it have on the common man on the street? Would it further, push Nigerians or Africans into another level of economic quagmire?
So why I say the geopolitical shift here is that I would say transiting into renewable energy source sort of provides us more opportunities than challenges, right? Because one of the things that it brings about is about decentralization, right? I mean, look at the issue in Europe, right? With Russia and many of the European countries, because they were largely dependent on Russia for energy, for gas. I mean, we all saw the implication of that in the global scene, right? I mean, Russia felt like they have this, not like they felt, Russia has this power or this leverage over many of the other countries across Europe. And then I'm sure times and times again, they would have threatened them to say, hey, if you do this or if you don't do that, we're going to pull the plug or we're going to close the pipe and then you'll be able to get gas. And then these guys will probably have circled back, say, oh, that's true. Let's tread carefully, right? Just so that Russia does not pull the plug on us, just so that we do not get caught from accessing energy that we need to drive our economy, right? And then if you now also look at the implication of this eventually, the implication of the Russia-Ukraine invasion and then the impact across Europe is also far felt in the nook and cranny of Ogbomoso, or in the nook and cranny of Kaduna or Sabongida or Shaki or any of those places across board, right? Because we could now see the impact of this on the price of diesel, on the price of petrol, on the price of gas and the like. And so this is why I think where renewable energy sources could come in eventually to help address issues like this, that it sort of bring about decentralized energy. So you don't have to depend on a country as maybe over 4,000 kilometers, 5,000 kilometers, 10,000 kilometers away for you to be able to power your system, for you to be able to power your economy. And I think this is the opportunity and the advantage, I think, going the way of renewable energy source, which makes it easier for decentralization. This is where I think it comes in really handy to bring about the better list of life for the economy.
Very well.
Yes, in the initial phase could be maybe a lot not so smooth as it sounds, but eventually the mid to long term implication is that it sort of bring about energy independence to different entities and to different countries, which is what we need eventually to really have an equitable world eventually.
Today, now a smooth transition is really what we need. Now, how would you advise government, businesses, as well as individuals to collaborate, to come together and collaborate to ensure that we have an effective transition into clean energy?
So first, each stakeholder has a role to play. First, individuals, we need to sort of look at our lifestyle, because the lifestyle that we choose to live will go a very long way in terms of what are the products that we buy, what are the services that we use. And this, to a very large extent, will also influence what businesses produce, right? What businesses provide. Because if the citizens, if the individuals are already demanding, say, oh, we don't use this kind of material because it poses an adverse effect on the environment. We don't use that resources because it's not good for the well-being of the planet, right? You would expect businesses sort of shift away from not producing what people do not need, right? And that also gradually shift the interest and the focus of these businesses to providing what people really need. From the government side, it's really about sensitization.
Glitch right there.
Education and regulations, basically. So providing regulations that makes businesses to thrive, right? Easier on businesses because again, we don't have bulk of the infrastructure that we need to take this off the ground. And this is where government comes in to provide that enabling environment, to provide that enabling support, and then to provide regulations that drives and makes this happen. I think we need, then eventually the different stakeholders now coming together, identifying this common goal, and then pursuing that goal as it should be. First is that we have a plan, set up a plan that we are working towards as individuals, as businesses, and as a government. Nigeria, for example, has the net zero 2060 goal. So it's basically for us sort of working and pursuing towards this goal collectively.
All right, Jide, we will be going on a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the conversation. Please stay with us.
My name is Olatunji Shoti. I'm a performing artist and, television radio presenter and a university lecturer, Unilag. Keep watching Sook News.
Hello everyone, my name is Kenny Black, Africa's finest music comedian, and you're watching Sook News. If you're not watching Sook News, I pity you, but keep watching Sook News.
Hello everyone, my name is Timidakolo and you're watching Sook News. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Wisdom Oluwaseun Okoko, co-founder Orbit Africa Properties. I'm live at Sook News. Guys, keep watching Sook News for everything that concerns business, economy, politics, news. Sook News is your station.
National Theatre, Igomu. Built during the military regime of Olusegun Obasanjo and finished in the time for the Second World Festival of Black Arts and Culture, FESTAC, in 1977. The theatre holds amazing treasures and memories. The artworks fill everyone with pride. The National Arts Theatre is visible from the motorway which connects Lagos Island and the mainland. The National Theatre is packed with the artworks of a legendary contemporary Nigerian artist, stained glass walls by Yusuf Grillo, sculptures and murals by Lamidi Fakeye, Erabo Emopai, and many others. It was put to full use for a month as one of the 4 venues of the Second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture, tagged FESTAC 77. The complex hosted 16,000 participants from 56 African countries and the diaspora in an unprecedented showcase of African music, fine art, literature, drama, dance, and religion. The National Art Theatre was built and designed by Techno Expert Stroll, a Bulgarian company mirroring the Palace of Culture and Sports in Varna, Bulgaria. Completed in 1976, the building is one of the largest and most beautiful of its kind on the African continent. It consists of a central hall with 5,000 seats, a collapsible stage that can be quickly rebuilt, a conference hall with 1,600 seats, 2 large exhibition halls, and 2 cinemas with 800 seats each. The theater complex has a dressing room for artists, a garage, offices, coffee bars, and a buffet. It has indoor TV and radio systems, as well as booths with facilities for simultaneous translation of languages and hectares of lush green lawn around. The majestic structure sits in Igomu like a quiet mountain, mesmerizing visitors and passers-by. The National Theatre. Sook Enlightenment.
Welcome back. You're still watching Business Insight, and we're discussing the impact of fossil fuel on climate change. And we still have with us Mr. Babajide. Mr. Jide, are you still with us, please?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So now let's talk technology. How can technological innovations be utilized or be adopted in order to ensure a smooth transition to renewable energy?
So first, technology brings about efficiency and also brings about saving costs, right? One of the ways I think technology can help in terms of transitioning now is that for solar energy, for example, way back, it's always very expensive. And it's not just what typically individuals can say they want to buy or they want to install at home. But now it's something that we can now sort of have like off the shelf in the market. And then you're able to sort of get your energy, be energy independent as an individual. Now, I mean, decades back, it's not something that you can just think about and then go make happen. This is one of the ways that technologies are really making energy access possible and to a very large extent affordable compared to what we've had in the past decades. Even within the fossil fuel industry in itself, technology also comes in to help in terms of course, optimizing the process of energy fracking and then making sure that bulk of it does not go to waste. So you also have like gas capturing where you can convert this natural gas into, where you can convert flare gases into some sort of natural gas that can be used for powering transportation, that can be used for powering cooking, and a whole lot of other energy demands. Right? So technology across board helps to sort of take care of issues like this. Also the part of carbon capturing that is being invested mostly in developed economies today, where they are saying, oh, if we need to plant trees to absorb the amount of carbon that we have out in the atmosphere, then it will take us decades, right? To take us decades for us to even be able to capture a significant portion of that carbon. But now we have technology in place today that is making the process of capturing carbon faster, more efficient, and a lot more cost effective. Yes, this cannot be afforded. It's not affordable to individuals yet, but it's something that we've seen that it's possible. But I also need to sort of put it caveats, right? That we have technology to sort of optimize, drive efficiency and adoption of the different solutions that helps in terms of energy transitioning. There's also the part where it can likely bring about wastage, right? Because like I said earlier, you have access to abundant energy from multiple sources. If we don't bring about efficiency in the mix, then there's high tendency that people might likely not change their consumption style. People might likely not change their consumption level because yes, I have energy, I can pay for energy, so I can use energy the way I like, right? So technology could also enhance that, right? And that's why we need to like cautiously talk about the importance of technology in this space. But we also need to sort of look at our lifestyle. We also need to look at our consumption as a people, as a country, as a continent, and as a world, right? So we need to look at all of these. Technology in itself is not like a silver bullet to solve all our climate change issues or our climate problems. There's a power we also need to consciously make decisions in terms of our consumption and in terms of our lifestyle.
Very well. Now, Jude, are there examples of countries who are currently practicing this transition, or I mean, who are doing it successfully, so that Africans can also, duplicate it right here? Are there countries like that, maybe in the Western world, that we can see as blueprints, or templates to follow in this regard?
Yeah, before even going to the Western world, I think I sort of had like some good news for you. That we have, even within Africa, like we have Morocco. Morocco doing tremendously well in terms of transitioning to renewable energy source. And as of 2022, Morocco's energy source, 37% of it was from renewable energy sources, mostly solar. And I mean, this is a country that sits in a very, very hot part of the world, right? Hot part of the region. And they've been able to sort of channel this problem and these challenges into creating opportunity for themselves. If Morocco could, as of 2022, be able to get up to almost 40% of the energy sources from renewable sources, then why not for other many African countries, right? And then Morocco is also targeting that by 2030, the 52% of their energy will be coming from renewable sources, right? And that's within us in Africa. Now let's go outside of Africa. China, for example, of course, the biggest emitter in the world, but also the largest energy producer from renewable energy sources in the world, right, is putting continuous efforts, and they are very serious about this, right? So that's where it's also not enough to draw plan. You also need to be very aggressive about how you get to implement the plan, right? So China is being very aggressive about it. And it's also important to mention that of the 70% of the solar PV modules that is used globally, China produces. Of the energy solar PV produced, China makes 70% of that, right? This is a country that is very serious about their transitioning, and they are putting their money where their mouth is, right? In Europe, we look at Germany, right? I mean, Germany is very heavy on energy dependency because it's an industrialized economy, right? And Germany has also switched to renewable energy source of over 30%, right? And year on year, they keep sort of improving on this with the goal of eventually switching the entire economy into renewable energy sources. And so, yeah, we talk about that these countries have the resources, these countries have the technical know-how and expertise, but we need to start. Nigeria, for example, has set the goal for 2060 to get net zero. Again, we only hope that it also does not become the story of Vision 2020, as we had it in the new millennium back then, where we say by 2020, Nigeria would have done A, B, C. I mean, we can look at the United Arab Emirates that we set the same goal with, and we can see where they are today, and we can see where we are. So it's not enough to sort of set a net zero 2060. How are we driving towards achieving that goal? And this is where I think bulk of the work needs to come in for Nigeria and most of the African countries.
Indeed, indeed.
So I can't hear you.
Investors to come, establish all of this in Nigeria so that we can also, not just in Nigeria, in Africa, as a matter of fact, so that we can also experience this smooth transition to renewable energy.
So I didn't hear the beginning of the question. Maybe you can just repeat it.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, I said this,
yes, I can.
Of course, countries you mentioned, they have the technical know-how, they have the resources to go about it. What will it take Africans or Africa generally to actually, get investors to invest in this sector so that we can have a smooth transition?
So what we need first is that we need to have a clear-cut plan, which I think we have rolling already, for example, for Nigeria. Then we now need to galvanize the right partners on board. I mean, the era has shifted away from coming to say, just give us money, just help us, to, hey, come, let's partner together on this. Let's work together on this. But then when you're saying you want someone to partner with you on something, you also need to show that level of seriousness and commitment into making it happen, right? Times and times again, we've been able to sort of bring partners across different business projects in the country. Some we've made some considerable progress, and some, we're not doing as expected, as much as we should be putting into this project. I mean, I'm aware that one of the reasons why the president is currently at COP28 is also to be able to galvanize support, be able to mobilize resources, and also bring on partnerships into like the gas projects that Nigeria is looking to run and scale with in the coming years, right? So those are one thing is to attract investors, another thing is to onboard investors and then be able to sort of sustain that relationship over a period of time. So we need to keep putting more effort into galvanizing that interest in our resources and building our energy transition or our energy mix projects as it is. And then we as a country also need to show that seriousness that we are ready for this. We want this to happen. This is important. And this is what we are contributing to make this happen. I'm aware as well that there are a couple of support that we've gotten from partners from the EU, from the US. Some of them are playing out, maybe not at scale that we all get to hear about it today, but I'm aware that there's a lot of work also going on at the back end. I mean, the German chancellor that was around a while back, he has met with the president like 3 times in roughly 2 months. This is to show that we have what they need, right? And then they also have something that we need, maybe resource and expertise. And it's just a matter of us sort of coming together to make it happen for both countries, just like we can also sort of expand on this with other partner countries across the world.
Very well, Jide. So now let's come to the area of awareness. How can the public be better educated on the impact of fossil fuel emission on climate change?
Well, there's been considerable amount of work that has been done over the years. I mean, give it to the different civil society organizations that we have in the country, and even those that come from outside the country into the country, working with local partners. So there's been efforts. Of course, we need to do more, from catching them young. I mean, helping young people learn about fossil fuel and its impact on the environment, and then alternatives that are available for people to leverage, right? There's also the part where government needs to intensify, so across board, right? So from government MDAs to government parastatals to the different engagements of government, right? They need to keep driving this messaging across board. So even beyond driving the messaging now, in terms of operations of the government, for example, how are they ensuring that all of those things that they're educating people about, all of those things that they're sensitizing people about, is also integrated into their day-to-day operation, right? Or if we say, don't do this because it's harmful for the environment, how are the government parastatals doing in that regard, right? Are they just saying it, or are they matching their words with action, right? So we need to see all of this happen over time. So again, if we want to do catch them young for young people, there's the part of do as I say or do as I do, right? You agree with me that young people really learn from what they see other people do, rather than what you tell them to do or what you tell them not to do. So we need to be able to match, just like for projects and infrastructure, also in terms of educating and sensitization, we need to match our words with action. We need to do detox and get people to see. And I believe there's a lot more people that could get catch the bug of understanding these old issues and what needs to be done. And then on the other hand, for me personally, I got into this whole space of sustainability, starting a business from an awareness standpoint, right? I mean, I was exposed to this whole issue around climate change and like as far back when I was in secondary school. And that messaging stood with me till I was in uni, and then I started engaging other young people to reach out to younger people. And then over time, I started thinking to myself, right, oh, if you keep telling people to stop doing certain things because it's not good for the environment, what other options are we providing to them? What alternatives are we giving people to work with? And that was what got me into the point of starting a business and creating solutions and providing alternatives for people. So if I tell you not to do this because it's not good for the environment, I'm equally offering you this alternative because I think it's more affordable for you and it's better for the environment. So I think we need to sort of mainstream this, the government side, from the private sector side, and mainstream on the individual side.
Amazing, amazing. Now, Jide, what are the potential economic opportunities associated with this switch, and how can individuals and businesses tap into such opportunities?
So potential opportunity that comes with the switches. So for Nigeria, I think it's important for us to mention that transition might not be like a straightforward thing for us as a country, right? So what the country is looking at, which I think is more practical, is what we call energy mix, right? Like, oh, we have gas, we have solar, we have wind, we have hydro, we have nuclear, and then we have all of it combined together, right? Different energy source is leveraged depending on the comparative advantage and strength of the different region within the country, right? And across these points, there's the value chain for each of them. So for gas, for example, from production to processing to distribution, and then to eventual dispensing to the final customers, right? There's a value chain in that regard. For solar energy source, from producing the equipment and components like solar panels, the batteries, and like even for the batteries, I mean, think about lithium, right? I mean, there's a lot of conversation currently going on around harnessing lithium mineral to sort of make batteries. And I learned at a point that the Nigerian authority is inviting partners to come here and harness our lithium mineral and then produce the battery from here, right? So from that point, that's even for energy storage, for energy from solar now, right? That's a value chain as well. Same for wind, the different components, be it you're producing it, or you're importing it, you're distributing it, and then you're retailing it. There's a value chain of opportunity across board. If you look at oil and gas, for example, right? I mean, you can imagine the enormity of jobs, and in terms of quality jobs, right? That was able to sort of create some economic opportunity for themselves. And I think if we get to diversify this mix of energy as we're looking at it as a country, there's a lot more opportunity that we can create in terms of upskilling people, upskilling and training people to be able to handle on these things. That's creating the technical know-how for building like a really useful population now. Then also there's a part of distribution, there's a part of making this product available to eventual customers. So it makes that energy accessible for everyone. And eventually, because there's competition at play, also make energy affordable to a very large extent for everyone out there. And I mean, on the long run, we have an economically empowered population.
Today, on a final note, there was some talks about the stoppage of the flaring of fossil fuel here in Nigeria by the president. Now, is this an opportunity for people looking to get into the carbon market, so to speak?
It's definitely an opportunity that we've been sleeping on for a long time, because we have cheap money from selling petrol, selling diesel, and selling crude oil and whatsoever to the different buyers, right? Gas flaring has been that low-hanging fruit that we ought to have tapped in a long time ago. Of course, there are regulations that prohibit gas flaring, but when you look at the penalty for those that flare gas compared to doing the right thing, many of these entities feel like it's almost cheaper to pay the fine than having to actually harness the energy from the gas being flared. But now that the country's attention is now, like we've woken up and we've seen the value that we could capture from the gas that were flaring, right? It creates an enormous opportunity for us as a country, right? From powering transportation to powering cooking to powering homes to powering industries, right? And even selling the gas harnessed to neighboring countries, of course, are making some money back in return. So this helps our diversification plan. And this also sort of positions us in that room of what does energy use or energy demand looks like in the coming years and in the coming decade. The gas that we're flaring today, when put into the actual use, when put at optimal use, puts us at the forefront of that cleaner energy transition conversation. And I think, well, the president of the day has taken a bold step on that. We can only hope and also give our own support to make sure that we're able to actualize it as a country.
Amazing, amazing. I don't know if you have final thoughts on this topic because we're wrapping up now. Do you have final thoughts, please? Let's hear it.
Final thoughts, for us to really achieve a truly sustainable environment, a truly sustainable world, we need all hands on deck, right? From individuals to businesses to government. Everyone must come together. And again, message to Nigerians. It's high time we moved away from just drawing bold plans, amazing plans, right? To actually implementing these plans, right? And actioning these plans. I believe if we do this and we do this religiously, Nigeria will be a country of reference when it comes to an actual energy transition in the coming years.
Thank you so very much, Jide, for joining us on Business Insight. We appreciate your presence.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
All right, that has been Babajide Oluwase, the CEO of EcoTutu, a clean energy company which provides multi-channel solar solutions. And on that note, we call it a wrap on Business Insights today. Many thanks for joining us. Adesua Iramosele, on behalf of the team, the producer, Amaka Okpara, and everybody else at Sook News, we say thank you very much for watching and have a good day.